if I told you there's a game heavily inspired by Zelda, mixed with Animal Crossing's island simulation and sprinkled with RuneScape's life skilling, but tweaked just enough to feel fresh? What if I also told you that this game has been out since May, and though it's seen modest success, it's nowhere near as talked about as it deserves to be? Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time launched May 21st, and true to its title, it's been stealing my time weekly ever since. I've largely kept Nintendo games at arm's length since the early DS days, but this might be the best Nintendo-style game I've played in years, and it's not even a Nintendo exclusive. I loved it enough that after initially picking it up on console, I bought another copy for PC just so I could review it properly and give the praise it deserves. Now, after 70 plus hours with the game, let me tell you why Fantasy Life is easily one of 2025's hidden gems. I'm about to go off on a spiel that seems completely wayward, but I promise it's important for the context of this video. I know it's odd that I'm reviewing a game with this aesthetic, but I urge you to give it a chance. I stumbled across it via TikTok and thought it looked like a game that would really stand out to my girlfriend, who particularly adores Zelda and Animal Crossing on the Switch. What I didn't imagine was enjoying it just as much as her. See, I have a love-hate relationship with Nintendo. The Nintendo 64 was my first console, and I grew up with the Game Boy and GameCube as my initial upgrades after. But as I transitioned to the DS and the Wii, I started noticing a weird trend amongst Nintendo games where a lot of the games were front-loaded or surface value. A deeper look usually found a pretty hollow experience that used the IP or console to sell its units. This wasn't across the board for every game, of course, but it felt like a gamble as a kid, and this pushed me away from Nintendo towards other consoles. Flash forward to 2020 things, and Animal Crossing has generated so much hype that we now have 2 Switches and 2 copies of said game. That April during lockdown was Animal Crossing centric, but as I finished the main portion of the game, I came to realize how much it pulled from the previous iterations of the game, and how void this game was of new content to justify its price point for me. This is a lot of personal anecdotes, but here's what I'm trying to get at with this. I have disdain for Nintendo games and services due to built-up resentment throughout my years as a gamer, but as of May 2025, I've come to see the light. Fantasy Life isn't a Nintendo exclusive, though its predecessor was, but its charm, aesthetic, and form are very much in line with what you would expect from the Nintendo property. So much so that while playing it, I cannot help but see the Nintendo properties in which inspired it. I've never played its predecessor, but I know it's a different team that worked on this game, and they created one of the most fun, casual, cozy games that I've played in years. A game I put 70 plus hours in that provided wildly different avenues to explore and delve deep into. A Nintendo game that wasn't a console seller that actually felt worth the premium price tag. So, I've been hyping it up a ton, but what actually is Fantasy Life? Well, it provides a somewhat generic story to guide you through its varied gameplay elements. The aesthetic is a variation on Zelda's style in a chibi world. You'll constantly notice elements that feel directly inspired by Zelda, with some gameplay features practically ripped straight out of those games. The setup is simple. You're following an archaeologist and an explorer on an expedition to an unknown land. Naturally, things go sideways, and suddenly you're thrust back in time. To find your footing, you need money, and to get money, you need skills. Enter the first gameplay element, and what is easily my favorite, the life skilling. Technically, there are 15 different lives, but realistically, there are about 14. These are split into categories: combat, gathering, and processing. You can freely explore every life skill or just stick to your favorites. Story-wise, you'll need a basic grasp of each, but there are ways around that, which I'll touch on later. Combat-wise, you've got melee variants like the Paladin and Mercenary. The Paladin's your sword and shield type that incorporates blocking, while the Mercenary's got a big two-handed sword with a berserker feel to it. Hunter and Magician are ranged options. The Hunter mixes status effects with mobility, while the Magician goes beyond simple damage spells into broader utility. This diversity matters because of your party members, whom you can mix and match, but we'll come back to that later when we discuss the buddies. Gathering professions are pretty standard at first glance. You locate and harvest your chosen materials, but there's a twist. Every skill has its own skill tree. For example, in woodcutting, you start off with a basic chop and a heavy chop. The catch, you're constantly limited by SP, a combined stamina and mana system. Plus, there's an invisible timer. Every target, whether rock, tree, or rabbit, has a health bar with constant health regen. In combat, it's straightforward. Basic attacks cost no SP, heavy attacks drain a lot, but in harvesting, every strike drains SP, and the regen often outpaces basic attacks. So proper tools, appropriate levels, optimized skills, and strategic approaches are essential. Every gathering skill also provides a move that reveals weak points, which are crucial for tougher resources, granting consistent critical hits. And yes, even harvesting skills have boss encounters. Woodcutting and mining bosses typically just have massive health bars, while fishing and farming bosses offer more engaging challenges. Processing life skills play out like an intense gamified variation of Overcooked or even Guitar Hero. You craft items by performing sequences quickly and accurately. It's easy enough when you're over-leveled, but matching the recommended skill level can become a real challenge. Initially, I wasn't big on these processing skills, but they grew on me as I realized the benefits of crafting items myself. Crafted gear comes with extra bonuses. Sure, some people might see it as a chore simulation, but I found it genuinely enjoyable to hop on, level my skills, unlock new abilities, and just get better. It scratched an itch in my brain. Plus, there are plenty of variations to try if one becomes stale. If this seems like a lot or not enough, let me dive into the other big aspects of the game. The game is split across 3 worlds: the past, the present, and Gynormosia. The past is a lived-in world with established settlements full of NPCs, shops, and tons of quests. This is where your journey kicks off and where you first dive into life skilling. It's structured like a traditional RPG with wilderness areas for farming and combat, and towns where you'll do quests and handle merchant transactions. The present introduces the second major gameplay element: island building. This is the Animal Crossing influence. You're given a fresh island that's yours to shape however you want. You also gain access to the party system and unlockable buddies. Just like Animal Crossing limits housing, your island maxes out at 6 houses, but tons of buddies can populate your island, and there are plenty to collect. You unlock these buddies by completing specific dungeons, fighting lost ones, or defeating bosses whom drop chests containing randomized strangelings, which is the term they are called in the state that they are in. Each buddy has affinity levels and a dedicated profession. These professions aren't just cosmetic, they directly help your life skilling, providing buffs as they level up and even increase your base efficiency at the skill. You may be mining a rock that is a little high of a level for you. Well, with the second miner, the SP draw of this skill level won't affect you nearly as much since its 2 are mining at the same time. This gets taken one step further in processing skills as the base level is boosted with them, which means just doing a base tutorial of the skill and having a buddy with that specialty allows you to do a lot more. Mixing and matching buddies for specific tasks is key, though one minor annoyance is that some quests require specific mastery tasks, like landing perfect final hits, and buddies harvesting alongside you can accidentally interrupt that. Buddies can also equip gear that you find, letting you share the massive amount of loot you'll accumulate. I will note some of the buddy voice lines can be slightly annoying, but you can swap out the more annoying ones for others. Using quest rewards and processing skills, you can gradually shape your island aesthetically. Terraforming skills unlock slowly through your story progression, and expanding your island requires removing trash, which makes recruiting more islanders necessary. Islanders appear trapped in inanimate objects and must be freed using special flowers found around your island or from daily quests. Personally, I didn't dive deep into the island decorating, but I appreciate having that option long term. My girlfriend, however, fully embraced this side of the game. The third world, Gynormosia, tweaks the formula further. It's the game's largest open world area, holding tons of intrigue outside of the main story. Gynormosia is a vast, unexplored continent broken down into biomes and filled with unique mobs. Each area loses its fog of war after interacting with its corresponding eye tower, revealing undiscovered collectibles and your area progress. You know, the Ubisoft usual. Green shrines, very reminiscent of another famous game, appear in each area, each containing quick quests like defeating mobs, solving pattern puzzles, or completing simple mini-games. These are short, fun, and rewarding, giving you strangelings, which can become buddies for your adventures or just another island resident. Each area also has special events, small settlements with quests, hidden puzzles, and collectibles. Completing tasks grants area points, which level up Gynormosia's mobs and loot, ensuring the content stays challenging as you level up. Multiplayer adds another layer. For full transparency, I only tried multiplayer for a few hours, but it was surprisingly fun. Multiplayer offers offers 3 activities: island visits, genre moja runs, and treasure grove time trials. We'll talk about the trials shortly. Island visits are straightforward. You showcase your island design and buddies. Genre moja multiplayer lets you join a host island for 60 minutes, free to do anything within the area, although you can't adjust island levels mid-session or really go into certain dungeons. The goal here is to trigger special events by accumulating points, spawning extra difficult mobs that yield valuable rewards. This quickly becomes a fantastic way to farm rare resources and gain levels. Initially, my multiplayer test was just with my girlfriend, but for fun, I opened my session publicly, no password, open preferences, no talking required, in the label. Immediately, 2 random players joined, and it was more enjoyable than I anticipated. Players can freely roam genre moja, farming points, or team up with you. My girlfriend loves this, saying it reminds her of the Animal Crossing's turnip trading era. For me, genre moja and life skilling remain the highlights, and the multiplayer just makes it more engaging as a casual, cozy activity. Now, earlier I mentioned the Treasure Grove time trials, so let's touch back on that real quick. About 1/3 into the game, once all 3 worlds become accessible, you'll discover a personal shrine on your island. At first, I was confused when it seemed like a dud. Turns out I didn't have the necessary tools, and the shrine is actually a time trial event where you choose your path through multiple rooms with the goal of defeating a final boss, all within 60 minutes. Initially, I couldn't access it properly because each room is tied to specific life skills. At that time, I had only unlocked 2 combat skills, 2 harvesting skills, and 1 processing skill, and I guess my first room must have required something like mining, which I hadn't leveled yet. If you're like my girlfriend, you might enjoy farming all of the different rooms, especially since some contain rare spawns. For me, the appeal was the final boss rewards, the challenge, the roguelike style variety each run offers. Once you complete a run, you replant the seed and can either do that new variation or replant a new one for a more interesting role. Genre moja lets you farm more of these seeds through overworld quests, adding even more options. There are also special rooms, like one where you plant your tool of choice and nourish it to gain a special ability. After your run ends, you collect your upgrade tool at the entrance. Successful runs unlock harder difficulties for future seeds, adding layers of depth and replayability. It's a roguelike mechanic completely distinct from anything else in the game, and honestly, it got me excited to dig deeper. I hope the free DLC announced mid-June would drop before I finish this review, as it promised another roguelike element in the genre moja's open world. Fortunately, it hasn't arrived yet, but it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Here's the thing, this game aesthetically probably shouldn't work for me, but I absolutely loved it. Sure, the characters and story are cute and generic, which is pretty standard for games like these, but I'll admit the story surprised me near the end, taking some interesting turns, including in a way that genuinely felt satisfying. Beyond the story itself, there's a ton of content. Post-story quests, missions, and exploration are abundant, not to mention the shrine time trials and everything genre moja has to offer. All this keeps you plenty busy while waiting for the upcoming DLC. Honestly, I'm just floored by how much genuine fun this game is. Simple, proven concepts woven together seamlessly into one cohesive, polished experience. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't a revolutionary title. It doesn't change gaming forever, but it doesn't need to. It delivers exactly what it promises: a deeply enjoyable, cozy gaming experience packed to the brim with content. I genuinely believe it's worth a premium price tag, especially if you're even remotely intrigued by this type of game. Like I said, Fantasy Life I deserves all the hype it can get, and I'm genuinely surprised it hasn't been blowing up across the internet more. Maybe it's the aesthetic or the seemingly simplistic story that's holding people back, but if anything I've shared sparks even a little bit of curiosity, I highly recommend giving it a shot. Admittedly, I'm still relatively new to these cozy games, but this experience makes me want to explore the genre much further. So here's my ask to you. If you know of any other recent cozy games that rival or even surpass Fantasy Life, drop them in the comments below. Mark and I are both eager to dive deeper into this rabbit hole. If you enjoyed this review, check out my other 2025 reviews in the playlist linked here, or watch my review on another fantastic game that's unfortunately flown under the radar this year. Until next time, my name is Easy Break. Toodaloo.